Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're reviewing the Nerf Rival Mirage. This is a fun little blaster that just released in 2024, the newest of the Rival line, and quite possibly one of the last. With the Challenger coming out before this, and this one kind of filling yet another pistol role. I'm kind of curious where they can go from there. I've got some kind of good ideas, and we'll talk about those at the very end of the video, but today we're just going to review this. We're going to go over some of the functionality and things like that. We also did an unboxing where we gave our first impressions, so definitely check that video out. But we will go over functionality, give you a firing demo. We'll take it outside, get some precision shots. There isn't going to be any chronograph readings because my chronograph doesn't reliably rate these ones. So we won't be doing that, but we will be looking at kind of giving it an eyeball idea of how well it's shooting and things like that. But to kind of go over this first off, it's a magazine-fed Springer blaster with a top prime. So you pull back here and you push forward, and then you're primed and ready to fire. However, you need to fill your magazine with the Rival rounds. Now it comes with this 10-round magazine and the blue Rival rounds. These are the AccuStrike rounds. Of all the Rival rounds or the round ammo that I've tested, these seem to be the most reliable. They're extremely durable, and while they don't have like the distance that like a short dart or a long dart might have, and like the accuracy and things like that, it still packs a good punch at about 90 to 120 feet per second, depending on what type of blaster you're using and things like that. But to load it, you just simply put the magazine right in like that, and you can see right there that it is loaded. And then when you push this forward, you've got your dart chamber, your Rival round chambered, and you can go ahead and fire. It's got quite a bit of snap to it. In my testing, I kind of feel like it's right around 90 to 95, somewhere in there. Yeah, it's pretty good. So you might also notice that there is when you prime it back, one of the coolest features is this open entry point. So you can actually put in another Rival round and load up, top off your magazine as you're, kind of scavenging ammo. The other thing you can do is you can push one dart ball forward and load in 2 balls. Although it's not quite practical because they're both going about 90 to 85 FPS in a similar trajectory. It's not wide enough for a shotgun blast, but that feature is still there. So let's go ahead and talk about this blaster. And starting at the front, we've got kind of their faux. That was weird. We've got the faux barrel lug from Instrike style, I guess. From what I've been told, some of the paper skeletons and things like that will fit on here. This is a slight different geometry than what was on the Challenger, but some of the stuff still fits. So I guess I would say before you purchase anything from a 3D printer, I would reach out to them first and ask them, hey, I've got a Rival Mirage. Does this piece fit onto the Mirage? If you've designed it for the Challenger, it might not be compatible. It just kind of depends on how they've done it. But it's a very, very similar. There's some minor differences, so your mileage might vary a little bit. We've got the same type of carabiner D-ring here as the Challenger. Several Picatinny rails on all sides, including the top. You've got a front iron sight, kind of middle iron sight. It's pretty low. It's pretty low, but nevertheless, you can use it. It's nice that they give you a Picatinny rail up here that's not interfered by any of the mechanics of the blaster, because you can add a red dot, very easily red dot that, and it, easy target acquisition. So that's nice. We already talked about the phenomenal breech loading here that you can do. There's no cap or anything that you have to remove like on the Chronos. It's just simply prime it back, load in a ball, and close it forward. You've got your safety here and there. Overall, not too shabby. Mag release is on one side. Your lefties, I don't know what you're going to do. That's kind of rough. But overall, not a very, not a bad blaster, if I have to say so. There's Picatinny rail on the bottom. This is probably where you can attach, an extra magazine. If you've got any of those old grips hanging on, this does not come with the blaster. You have to pull these from either a reload pack from yesteryear. And they just this is kind of where the only place that I've really found that you could fit an extra magazine without interfering with this magwell. But still, at the end of the day, having extra mag, not too bad. And it doesn't actually interfere too much with anything. Quick reload, not too bad. Not too bad at all. So again, these don't come with it. As far as compatibility goes, old school mags do work, which is great. The Challenger mag does not work at all. This does not fit any way you try it. It just won't work. So this is a proprietary mag for the Challenger and the Challenger alone. So the magazine that it comes with is compatible with other previous blasters. It's also compatible with the Challenger. It's just that one Challenger magazine, the Curve magazine, doesn't work with this blaster. So other than that, that's pretty much straightforward how it works, how it operates, and what you're kind of looking at as far as performance goes. Like I said, it's about 90 to 95 feet per second. And it does have slam fire, which is really nice. I don't know if I have... So holding trigger down. So it does have slam fire, which is really cool for a pistol. So anyway, let's go ahead and take it out on the range and see how she's doing with some precision shots. Hey guys, we are back out on the range. We have the Nerf Rival Mirage. We're at 30 feet. We're going to start with the Accu rounds from Nerf. Aiming dead center. Alright, next up we are at 30 feet with the Adventure Force Tactical Strike rounds. Alright guys, we are at 45 feet with the Mirage. We'll start again with the Nerf ammo. These are the Accu rounds. Aiming dead center. Rounds complete. Alright, next up we have at 45 feet the Adventure Force Tactical rounds. All right, guys, so we are back out from the range, and holy smokes, is this thing a lot of fun or what? Oh, this is, it's got a little bit more range than I was expecting. But yeah, let's jump into the precision results and take a quick look. So starting off, we've got our 30 feet distance from target. This is about a 30-inch target, and as you can tell with the Nerf Accu rounds, it made pretty good work of it. You know, all things considered, every dart or every round hit the target, which is nice. You know, while it's the overall cluster or overall grouping wasn't too bad, it all fell within a certain, you know, within that 30-inch radius, or I'm sorry, diameter. I would have liked to see a little bit more consistency as far as the clusters go. This just kind of looks like they're kind of all over the place. There's very few that are overlapping, and that's really what you're looking for in consistency. Now, you need to take that with a grain of salt. A couple of reasons. This is a rival, you know, blaster after all, so accuracy isn't its strongest suit. And with this being a top prime blaster, you know, your opportunity of firing off rounds rapidly is very, very minimal because you're sitting here pulling back, firing, pulling back, firing, and getting that same center every time. I tried my best, and you can see in the footage, you know, I tried my best to keep it as close to center as possible, aiming, you know, dead center in every shot from start to finish. And again, these are all brand new rounds. They've never been fired before. It's just the way these rounds work is, you know, anything can happen. You know, if they hit the hop up the wrong way or whatever the case may be. But nevertheless, I would have liked to see a little bit tighter grouping on some of those clusters. Let's go ahead and move over to the Adventure Force tactical stripe rounds. These, on the other hand, they had a wider spread than the Adventure, or than the Nerf Rival rounds, but still fell within, you know, the same diameter. If you take out the one outlier. The one thing I did notice is these fell slightly lower on the target. Now this is at 30 feet, so that kind of tells me that the rival rounds have a little bit better range, a little bit longer range to give, and this is pretty much the max distance for the Adventure Force rounds, which is it's pretty common knowledge at this point. I believe the Adventure Force, the orange rounds, are slightly lighter than the Nerf rounds, yeah. So if we take those two and compare them side by side, we're looking, you know, pretty much exactly what I was talking about. There's definitely a difference between the two. Nerf clearly is higher up on the target, and Adventure Force is lower, still kind of all over the target, but still just a little bit lower as far as shot to shot to shot. So I feel like the Nerf branded ammo does edge out the Adventure Force ammo just by a little bit. If you need to save a couple bucks, that's the way to go. I will tell you, I did find at my local Kroger's 50-round Rival magazine or boxes for $7.50. Now they were on sale, clearance or whatever, so your mileage may vary. Definitely check it out. But if you're in the need for new Rival ammo and you want it cheap, $7.50 for a 50-pack isn't that bad. So let's, with the way that the Nerf Rival performed, let's go ahead and back it up to 45 feet and see what happens. And you can quickly see that at 45 feet, this just it's not as strong suit. It starts to fall off very, very quickly. It still hit, a good portion of the shots on target, which is great. But, at that range, you're not, like I said, you're not squeezing off, round every second, fire, prime, fire, prime, fire. So if you miss that first shot, you're kind of SOL, because now you've given away your position and you need to prime and readjust to reacquire your target. So 45 feet, I think, is kind of pushing it. if we look at the Adventure Force side of things, this is just not acceptable. Like, this is not possible. It's just way worse. And most of the shots falling lower to the target, which we kind of saw in the first slide at 30 feet. This is off the target and even some out of frame. So I think the two outliers are the ones that hit the actual target. But unfortunately, I just don't think this is not their distance. You're looking at probably about a maximum of 30 feet. And then again, if you compare them side by side, kind of just confirms exactly what I've talked about. It's a little bit too spread out for the Rival rounds, the Nerf brand. To fire at that range, I would say 40 feet would probably be the maximum I would go to if you're using original Rival rounds. Adventure Force, you're stuck at that 30-foot range. I'm sorry, there's no doubt about it. So I was curious about the distance, right? And with the Adventure Force rounds, I was like, okay, maybe if we aim a little bit higher, maybe we can kind of float the ammo in. So what I did was, for all these testings, obviously I lined up back sight with front sight and aimed dead center. But what I was curious is how high do I need to go to get the Adventure Force rounds to hit the actual target itself at 45 feet. And what I found was, if I aim at the tip top of the target, that's at the top of the silver, the 30-inch target, the very top of that edge, and fire, I was hitting consistently in that 30-inch diameter, which isn't too bad. Again, not too shabby if you're playing in a backyard war, things like that. More competitive scene, this is not going to be your option. So backyard war, absolutely fine. You can get away with it. That's not a big deal. Now, if you're at 45 feet and you're aiming up, you're going to have a little bit of a hard time because you're lofting the darts or the rounds into your target, which with this ammo, no matter what brand you're using, the speed and the momentum just fall off so quick. So when you're aiming up and kind of lofting them into your target, that gives them an extra second or two to react to it, and that's kind of frustrating. It also makes it difficult to lead your target, because not only are you having to lead in front of the way they're moving, but you're also having to aim up and kind of loft it. So there is that. So let's go ahead and just move on to my final thoughts and kind of wrap it up. So like I said, the Aki rounds 35 feet, maybe 40 feet is kind of where your kind of best case scenario is. The Adventure Force rounds 30 feet or less, like absolutely, yeah. It's not a bad little blaster. I really dig the form factor. The one thing that I love about this thing is this little port right here. This thing is so cool. Just being able to have like an empty magazine and just being able to load, top off as you play is just so nice. And then, whew, that was close. Just being able to top it off is just so nice. And for backyard wars, it's really a huge benefit in my opinion. The Picatinny rails are my next favorite thing. There's plenty on here. The only usable one for like an extra magazine is this bottom one, from what I can tell. But I would love to see, them come out with additional features. I talked about this in my review of the Challenger. Pop-up iron sights, extra ammo capacity, red dot, flashlight, all that stuff, all that tactical stuff to use these rails. I'm so glad that they brought these back for this line. With like the Pilot and the Forerunner and the can't remember what the other ones were called. The Fate. They did away with all the Picatinny rail, so there wasn't, it didn't have that kind of aesthetic that we were used to with the Nerf line or with the Rival line. And now that they brought it back, I'm like, oh, this is awesome, fantastic. I really dig that. The other thing that I really dig that might interest some of you guys is the amount of kind of like detail and the greebling and stuff like that on this blaster. Being able to paint it up in a specific way. You've got a bunch of different lines and different levels of plastic. The handle, love it or hate it, it does feel really good in hand, but having these different types of levels of plastic just will make a paint scheme look that much better. So customized paint scheme would probably do real well on this blaster. The included hop-up is really cool. One of the things that I would love to see from this line going forward, and I kind of alluded to this at the beginning of the review, that I would like to see in a future release, if they're going to update some of the older blasters, because I really don't know what they're going to go with next. They've got the Strife, they've got, you know, various versions of pistols, and now they have a mag and grip pistol. You know, there's really not too many more ways that you can go besides rehashing old ideas. One of the things I would like to see them toy with is adjustable hop-ups. And I don't mean like left to right or upside down or anything like that. Curving like the curve line was, that was kind of a weird gimmick. But a more usable, practical application is just having a gear that you can rotate to lower the hop up down or raise it up. And that would give you a little bit better control of the distance that you're firing or the speed that you're firing. Because obviously the higher, you know, the lower the hop up, the more, you know, impact that's going to have on your FPS. Or whereas, you know, you're not going to have as good as range as if you have a slightly lower hop up, and it's going to give that nice twist up. So if you're going for range or if you're going for FPS, you know, having that adjustability, I think would be really, really cool. The handle, on the other hand, this is kind of my transition. I love this handle. I really, really do. I love the fact that, not with these magazines, but with the old school magazines, you could see how many rounds were still in when you had like 4 or 5 left. You know, you could see down, okay, I got 3 left, okay. There's no guesswork or anything like that. This is a really cool idea for slimming down the thickness of the handle. It's still kind of a thick handle, but it's nowhere near like the what is it, the Hera or anything like that with the same mag and grip type of thing. That thing is chunky. This doesn't feel so bad. The only downside is, and we'll get into what I would change about this blaster, is it just feels really kind of weak, like, and flimsy. When it has the magazine in, it's solid. It feels really good. But it's just when you don't have a magazine in, but how often are you running around like this? I don't think you pretty much will ever. I don't know. But just, you know, just know that the handle could use some work. I already talked about the other thing that I wish they came out with was, you know, additional pieces of tactical gear. But the one thing that I think every blaster company needs to understand, and some of them are kind of getting hip to this, is if you've got a magazine blaster, this makes no sense to have a magazine blaster with 1 magazine. Like, I have to reload this when this is empty. So it's basically an internal magazine. If you're gonna sell me this, give me 2 magazines, because that way I can tactically reload. I can reload one while I'm, you know, still have the ability to fire. It's just a nice gesture, and there's nothing quite like getting a blaster that has 1 magazine versus getting a blaster that has 2 magazines. Now, I know, buy one online, get an extra one, whatever. We've got tons of them laying around. That's fine, but newer Nerfers might not have an extra magazine, especially since the one that came with the other blaster that's on the shelf right now, this guy, isn't compatible. Now, this is compatible with the Challenger, so, you know, there is that. Nevertheless, I kind of rest my case. Give us an extra magazine with these blasters. Charge us an extra $3, $5, whatever, but give us an extra magazine. The gameplay experience is so much better when you have a second mag full of ammo. So yeah, so that's my kind of overall view. As far as usability goes, clearly this is not going to win any FPS result, any FPS awards or anything like that. You wouldn't use this in anything that's you know, pro level 150 to 200 and higher, stock performance, you know, battles only. This blaster is phenomenal in the backyard. I got to use this with my 3 kids, 13, 7, and 3. And while I didn't feel comfortable shooting the 3-year-old with this, the 7 took it like a champ, and the 14 or 13-year-old is perfectly fine. I had a lot of fun with it. The 13-year-old, excuse me, I keep saying 14, dear Lord. The 13-year-old had no problem priming this and using this and reloading and all that. Sawyer, my 7-year-old, couldn't get this primed. So I think what I might do is actually get a second one, because I plan on upgrading this one with the K26. But getting a second one and putting in the pilot spring is what I'm thinking of doing, or downgrading it so it's a little bit easier prime for them. But that's my idea. I'm kind of looking forward to seeing how that goes. I've never really downgraded a blaster before, so yeah, we'll see. But we're definitely going to upgrade one of them, because this is a lot of fun to play with, and it's fun to plink around with too. So getting it out in the backyard and shooting on the range, so much fun. So anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. I greatly do appreciate it. I'll leave a link up here for the review of the Challenger. That's the other blaster that came out in 2024. So definitely give that a check. And then leave a comment down below what you like about this thing. Do you plan on picking one up? I'd like to hear your guys' comments. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys in the next video.